person that you're working with as you walk through this exercise who the relationship is that they're working with, because sometimes we can wander off to Tahiti and we forget that we're talking about Joe. Instead, we start thinking about our mom or something. So say, you notice how I kept on saying in your relationship with Joe?
Okay.
The words could be very different. The hierarchy could be very different. Okay.
But each time we get to one, it switches. Then I start over again, and it switches again.
That's okay. That happens a
So
lot.
could you help us
Sure.
with this? Okay.
So yours is.
This is this.
Tell me your name again. Clarice. In your relationship with Clarice, what's more important? Oh, in your relationship. Tell me your name again.
BW.
BW. In your relationship with BW, what's more important? Compassionate or concerned? Concerned. So put a little dot. Do it on the left so I know where we are. Okay. In your relationship with BW, what's more important? Concerned or encouraged?
Okay.
Okay. In your relationship with BW, what's more important? Encouraged or helpful? Okay. In your relationship with BW, what's more important? Encouraged or hopeful? In your relationship with BW, what's more important? Encouraged or peaceful? In your relationship with BW, what's more important? Peaceful or compassionate?
Here we go again.
Okay, then we're going to do this a different way. In your relationship with BW, what's more important? Compassionate or hopeful?
Okay. Now let's go back over.
In your relationship with BW, what's more important? Compassionate or helpful? In your relationship with BW, what's more important? Compassionate or encouraged? In your relationship with BW, what's more important? Compassionate or concerned? Okay, in your relationship with BW, what's more important? Compassionate or peaceful? All right, number one. Sometimes it just takes a while to get into the group. Well, hang on to that. What you're doing to decide that is you're thinking, what does this mean? And then you're comparing it. The meaning part is what we're going to do next. You're an advanced learner, and you're ahead of the schedule. You're welcome.
We went through it twice.
It's okay. Just be patient.
Okay. All right. What's more important to you? Concern or encouragement?
I have everything else.
What's more important? Encourage or
I have
help?
decided everything else. And I really think I have a lot of this as well.
Or like a little list and then do that helps, yeah.
Okay, what's more important? Encourage or people?
In your relationship with or more, accepted or delivered?
Yeah, she's already done hers in
Now, what's
Melinda.
more
Her
important?
relationship with
Concern
Joe.
or help?
And number one is passionately. Number two
Okay,
is
more important.
spiritual.
Your relationship with
Number
Omar,
three is
accepted
trust.
or happy?
Okay, more
Number
important.
four is
Concern or peaceful?
confident. Number five is adventure.
Your relationship with Omar, happy or loving?
So she knew those were her top six values, but she
In
wasn't
your
sure
relationship with
what
Omar,
order they were
happy
going
or,
to.
I mean, yeah, happy
Okay,
or
what's more
romantic?
important? Helpful or peaceful?
I'm gonna put a little
In
frame
your
around
relationship
this
with
one.
Omar, happy or understanding?
Oh, okay. I feel like because if you have all the things that you
Wow,
have,
I mean, I got to be
I guess not
the hot topic.
Yeah, you didn't do
Okay,
that.
what's more?
You betcha, you're always the hot topic.
Committed or accepted?
Okay, we made
Accepted or
it.
Did it to me again.
All right, who needs more
Accepted or
time?
loving?
How much?
Now you see what I'm saying?
How much more
That's
time?
what we do each time.
3 minutes?
Switch just like that.
Sure.
yeah, if we like,
Which do you? Accepted or loving?
Yeah.
accepted.
It's in hot here.
Yeah.
It is. Let's see if we can.
Accepted.
Accepted or understanding? Committed or generous?
So how long have you been married?
37 years and 9 months.
Committed or no?
10 years. How long have you been married? Oh, Delmar's single now.
Loving or
Wait, no, committed.
Oh, okay.
10 years. First baby.
Committed or
Wow. You are doing this at the perfect time.
Committed or
Because as you know,
understanding?
the hormones are already changing. Are you in the third trimester yet? Okay, so even when
Understanding or,
difficult, you don't
generous?
care because the endorphins are flowing.
Understanding.
So what if I feel like a
Committed or
beach
generous?
whale? I don't care.
Committed.
Committed
will
or
be like
loving?
number 4, I guess.
Okay.
All right, how long have you guys been married?
Generous or generous?
35 years. Can anybody beat 35 years?
Wow, that's
Deborah, have you been
awesome.
married longer than 35 years?
Loving.
No.
Loving.
37.
And romantic.
And didn't pay attention. And then it was
Private number. No, wait.
That's the second one.
Patience.
Remember when I?
Lots of
Wow.
Okay, yes.
Wow.
I
All
had
three of
7.
mine don't
Oh,
add
sorry.
up.
Yeah, generous is all.
Okay, yeah, that's one I added at the very end.
I got it right
I meant to
once
take
I
it
got
off
that out.
there.
Forever.
Take
They were like
out.
80-some years
I'll
old.
do yours
They've been
all
married
over
since they were like in their
I
teens.
want to say.
And they asked you what was the secret of them being married so
That was
long.
another
And the later response, well, we never fell out of love at
The
the
bitch
same
still
time.
has more than
I know, right?
Yeah.
Because it was
I don't want to
important.
bore you, but I will.
Okay,
She had to have a lot of patience
I
to catch
in your
up.
relationship,
I didn't
do you prefer to have acceptance?
So that's, to me, is the secret, just being
Fun
patient.
or honest?
It might be,
Because
it might be.
every day,
Honest or security?
no, you might have a real tirade, right?
Said them right.
And then
Security
next
or
day it's like
sincere?
Solo.
So
Security
you
or
both got through
trustworthy?
your list,
Trustworthy.
and part of it was patience,
Trustworthy
right?
or
Patience.
acceptance?
There you go.
Just
Trustworthy
going
or
over
fun?
and over.
Trustworthy is number one.
Alrighty then.
Accepting or fun? Fun, wait.
You're almost through in the back
Security or
there. You
sincere?
can't move ahead without it.
Security or accepting?
But does it,
Security.
when people ask you, have
Security
you been married so long, like somebody
Security
who's
or
been
honest?
married?
Not
Security.
second guess
Have you been married that long?
No,
Does
just-
it kind of
just
like
go
renew your
with
relationship?
your
Like,
first
okay.
instinct.
Well, good.
It's always a constant
Um,
reminder to me that
Okay,
marriage is
honest
all
or
about
sincere?
giving
Sincere.
Sincere or accepting?
It's a two-way.
Sincere or fun?
Honest,
I had a marble, it didn't go anywhere.
Honest for the third one.
And learning
Tell me
humility.
anything about it.
Accepting or fun?
Because
Fun,
every
sincere?
battle
Sincere.
is
Oh, we've moved,
Sincere
yeah,
accepting.
we've moved to
not
business.
always.
Business over coffee and values over
Fun
coffee.
is, I guess, number fun and accepting.
Points,
Speaking of
food,
coffee,
yeah.
there's the coffee right there. Okay, so if you want some
how long
coffee
have you been married?
while you're waiting for everybody to
10
finish
years?
up.
Oh,
Are you
that's-
guys
that's
familiar back there, Cheryl?
That's the pillow point.
Cheryl,
We're done.
It's like on a
Okay,
roller
great.
coaster, you're going up like this, you know?
So if I can get your attention, we're gonna move ahead.
He's after the 12th year.
Right after Sherry gets a picture.
Yeah, it's like you want to be this.
I need you. I need you. You're my next step. So what did you find out going through that exercise, just of forcing yourself to go through the hierarchy? It's hard? Oh.
All of it.
Yes. Well, you can have it all. We're just working with 6 of them today. But isn't it nice that you've pulled from all of them 6 that you can really focus on? Now, one of the things that was said in the back of the room was, they're so much alike, the words she chose, and I said, well, we're going to make meaning of those words in just a minute. And I said, you're an advanced learner. You're going ahead and defining it before you compare them to each other and pick one. She said, well, thank you. So here we are. Anybody else have any comments? Was it difficult for you? Okay. Anybody else? Was it difficult for anybody?
I tried to second guess after I chose.
Try to second guess yourself. BW.
Well, ours was difficult, I guess you can tell.
No, I didn't find it difficult.
Thank you.
I didn't find it
Okay, so it
difficult.
wasn't me.
It doesn't matter who it was. It wasn't
Okay.
difficult. You
Thank
just
you.
had to take a breath and start all over again.
Exactly.
Maybe because it was a neutral party.
Yes.
Maybe you were getting impatience from him, and that was not his come from. It was not his come from. He doesn't mean to be impatient. I can look at him and tell. He said patience is what makes the marriage work. So
Yes, that's
he
true.
understands
He
it.
knows.
Sometimes there's a little baby disconnect, or sometimes we just get a mixed message, right?
Right.
Okay, so I'm letting you off the hook, aren't I? Did I cover up for that one?
You did,
Okay.
you did have to catch up.
So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna make yes, Jennifer.
That's a really good question though. Is this an exercise that we would do with someone that we're intimate with when we're trying to create a relationship with that
Yes.
individual?
It's
Gotcha.
a very good question, because remember, let's go back to John. John said, I want to go through this exercise, I want to understand what you do, and really what happened was, he wanted me to show him how to do it, and I said, why don't we go through it together? See, we were dating then. Why don't we go through it together, and no one will know that I'm a facilitator. They'll just think I'm a participant, just like you. So what happened was, we came up with our individual hierarchies, and his words were different than mine. And that made me a little nervous, until we got to the part that we're about to do, which is making meaning of the words. Let's say the word is the hook that's in your cupboard, and the meaning is the cup that's attached to it. And we all have different meanings to the words, depending on our history, our experience, who the authority figures were, what the culture was like, what the values were like. and what was or wasn't articulated about those values. Remember I said fabulous upbringing, wonderful parents, but no one ever knew how to do this because it had never been done for them. But my husband and I had different words, and so I got a little nervous.
Would it be safe to say also that over time that some of this will change?
Absolutely, and absolutely. It not only will this change over time, but it will change with the person or entity, if you will, Deborah, that you're talking about. Because if you did this with a potential business partner after you had been embezzled, your hierarchy might be a little bit different with the next person based on that experience that was traumatic. And ooh, you never even thought about a word, you know, because it was your best friend who embezzled you. Does this sound like something autobiographical? It is. It is. I mean, we all ran around together, 3 couples, just tight as ticks. And she's the one who embezzled from me. And I had to confront her about it. And I said, I don't know what you're going to do to pay it back, but your husband, the attorney, will be told if you don't. I mean, I didn't know how to tell my truth quicker, faster than that. So I had to learn how to let that go and trust again. And the same thing, Deborah, I've been married more than once. Actually, we realized that I've been married more times probably than anybody in the room, and it still doesn't beat the record.
Wow.
But the good news is, going through this exercise, facing my past and making peace with it, I don't call divorces failures anymore. I call them high growth learning opportunities.
All right. I like that.
So reframing, you know, we all make mistakes, but it's not a mistake anymore. I learned a lot in each one of those marriages, and it made me the person that I became. I was teaching this by the time I met John Baur. So, no, I knew what to ask for. I had my list. I wasn't courageous enough to ask for a master chef. Now, that's not what my husband does for a living. He teaches music theory and composition, but man, can the guy cook. And one time, I just have to tell this little aside, he was interim director of the music school, and he had far more on his plate than usual. And I said, honey, why don't you let me cook for the coming year and take that off your plate? And he said, and take away my stress reduction? I said, oh no, baby, I wouldn't dream of doing that. The truth of the matter is, after 13 years of marriage, if he gives up the cooking and says it's your turn, we're all going to be disappointed. Isn't that right, Sherry? We're all going to be disappointed if Shelley does the cooking instead of John. Okay. So meanwhile, back to Melinda and Joe. Let's pick up our little episode here. We're going to make some meaning of these words.
Okay.
Yes. And so what's going to happen with you and your partner, you're going to go through the same thing that Melinda and I are getting ready to go through now. So I'm going to have to, I think you could somehow fasten this up, or can you be Vanna for just a minute? Okay, so my value with whoever the relationship is with Joe is, well, let's put it this way. Sorry, I'm going to start over. Erase this. Okay, I'll tell you what, we can get, you don't have to do this.
I'm happy to.
But that's okay, Melinda can do it. How about that? Because this is her book, and I'm just putting her
Okay.
language. All right. My value is, fill in the blank, and you don't have to write this down unless you just want to have the template to be able to use it later. I know I'm experiencing it. Oops, spell check. When happens. So you'd really start off at the bottom of the list, number 6. My number 6 value is proud of self.
Yeah, proud of self.
And I know I'm experiencing it when yak, yak, yak happens. So how would you describe behaviorally what it looks like when that value is in place and working?
Smiles.
When smiles happens. Oh, I like those one words happen. So so I want you to say my value with Joe is, my number 6 value with Joe is proud of self, and I know I'm experiencing it when smiles happen.
Excuse me, my value with Joe is proud of self, and I know I'm experiencing it when smiles happen.
Okay, great. So now, so let's just go through that part first, and then we'll come back to part 3. All right? So I'm going to walk you through all of them. Your value, your number 5 value with Joe is adventure, and you know you're experiencing it when
We're enjoying each other.
So when you're enjoying each other, what does that look like behaviorally?
Traveling.
You're enjoying each other traveling. So travel and adventure go hand in hand. Okay. See, what I'm trying to do is coax a little bit more about what does enjoyment look like.
Okay.
Well, that could have been smiles too, but now we got another word. Okay. And your number 4 value in your relationship with Joe is confident, and you know you're experiencing it when?
This is a hard one. Confident.
How do you know when you're confident in your relationship with Joe? You taking notes, BW? Sometimes you have to ask the question a little bit different way. Happy.
Confident with Joe. He's interested in taking care of himself.
Joe's interested in taking care of himself. Are you editing this because you know you're going to take it back home to him?
No.
Or he's watching
live at home on the computer. This is important because it's you know, taking medications, taking care of his health.
Right. Okay, and your number 3 value with Joe is trust. And how do you know that that's happening behaviorally?
Is this your coffee? Oh, your coffee?
Mine had a little stick in it.
We're able to depend on each other.
Oh, there is?
So when he does what he says he's going to do,
Oh, thank you. It might be.
when he takes his medication,
Oh, I
okay.
got over there.
Should
When he
we-
follows through.
Okay, when Joe follows through with what he says. So if you are doing this
I'm sorry.
exercise with your partner, BW, and you can't quite get a picture of what that looks like behaviorally, just ask another question until you can go, oh, when Joe follows through with what he says he's going to do, or of course you filled in the blanks. So keep on asking another question until you can pull out the information that says, now I know what that means to her.
Yeah, because he's always had a saying that's been, you know, when I tell you something, you can paint your eggs because it's Easter, you know? And that's just something that for 30 years, you know, I have relied on.
Right. So it's not a question of trust is already in the relationship, and this is what trust looks like. Perfect. All right. 2 is spiritual. Number 2 value in your relationship with Joe is spiritual, and you know you're experiencing it when what happens?
When I have peace every day.
What does peace look like?
Peace looks like not relying on me,
Now
but
see.
depending on God.
Ah.
And not looking to Joe for peace.
Okay, so it's a two-way street, isn't it? It's not just what he does, it's what your experience is, okay, and what you do. So when you have peace, depending on God, and I'm going to put both ways.
Yeah, I don't put pressure on him. And I don't feel responsible for his peace.
Alrighty then.
So,
Sounds like a healthy relationship, don't you think?
mhm.
All right, and then number 1 in the hit parade is passion for life. So how do you know you're experiencing passion for life in your relationship with Joe?
Helping others.
Helping others. I bet that has something to do with your life mission and purpose too. What do you think? All right, let's give her a big round of applause again. And this is what you will be doing with one another. Again, I don't know whether you're going to trade sheets of paper. You guys will work it out. You did last time. But ultimately, you're going to end up with a list like this, probably on the back of a piece of paper. So you may have to flip back and forth, whatever. And you want to walk through the hierarchy from number 6 to number 1. What's most important to me in my relationship with whoever the person is? Fill in the blank. I know I'm experiencing it when some behavior happens. Again, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that value existing in your relationship now. You just want to make sure that it stays there, and here's how it looks to you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Any questions? All right. I'll try to be quiet unless you ask a question.
I have a question, Shelley.
Yes.
So, if we're doing this with a person, we each do it to each other?
Right.
Or do we pick the words together? It's just each
No,
do-
no.
okay,
You
that's what I
want to do
thought.
it individually and then find out, because this is about
Okay.
a discovery exercise. It's a discovery for you about yourself, what's important. It's also a discovery for the other person, because what's going to happen is the third part, they're going to have a chance now to buy in. They're going to make sure that they heard what you said and that they understand what the behavior looks like.
Okay.
Now, let me tell you why I say that. When you go through the hierarchy and you say, my number 654321 value looks like this, and I'm teeing it up, but they're going to repeat it back to you. Once you know what drives people, once you know what that friend, lover, husband's value is, you can't pretend like you don't know it anymore. You've had the relationship. Sometimes we do things by default and unintentionally hurt without meaning to. But once you know that you know, they know that you know, and if you violate it, then it's a violation of trust. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Once again, an accelerated learner, thank you for the little tease to what comes next. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
So we're working with each other again.
Yes, you are. You're working with each other again.
Going from 6 to 5.
In your relationship with yourself, passion for life, how do you know your experience?
Would you stop doing that, please?
Yes.
I want you to be here with her.
When I choose to recognize
You ready?
the simple
Oh, good.
things in everyday life, for example.
Appreciating
Appreciating
verbatim, not with interpretation, not what they think you said, exactly what you said. And you know why? Sometimes you'll hear it through the back of her head and you'll say, that is what I said right there.
I'm just putting it up
There's a
there.
And
trash.
it lets you
Oh,
know
right
that
there.
you heard
They're my number 5.
and it lets him know that just, see, you've
Okay, I think I'm
listening
ready.
to you in a way that he has not listened to you before. Now I doubt that.
Oh,
since you're a
there, I
pastor.
read
But
the
you know what I'm
order.
saying? Sometimes
I only wrote 6 this time.
it happens. Yeah, well, it's good that you're willing to say that and be coachful about it. I
You
would
know you're
love
experiencing,
to.
I want to say
We'll talk. We'll see each other. This is
Romar.
over. And this is going to be recorded, so you can go back and watch the whole thing.
Say it to you?
When he
Thank you so much for
goes out of his
your
way
time.
to plan
No, so then I need to.
or
buys me something.
Because of my regular.
Okay. Blessings.
Okay.
The first one is support.
Clearly thinking about me.
You know what I just say
Not
crazy
about
because
how
my regular distracted.
Just give me
Okay, meaning like TV, social media, those kind of outlets.
Paper money. I'll give you the paper. Thank you. I'll be right back.
And I'm a TV junkie, I mean,
God bless y'all.
I want to admit I have to junkie a lot of the stuff.
You know your experience.
We
Next
gonna,
Wednesday.
yeah, we're gonna put them on the way.
He says, I
In your
understand.
relationships with yourself,
Okay.
with your
Email me or
values,
call me.
your experiences.
What the other person does
My
is
value
that
is
I am
productive.
completely situated.
and doesn't try and turn it into, doesn't try and turn it into something about themselves.
When I feel here's what I know.
Leaves the house. Then
Stay
sit home.
It's okay.
Take somewhere.
He does
I just feel bad
something
for my
he
handwriting.
likes.
I'm confident in knowing I know what I'm talking about.
4,
I'm gonna make a quick announcement. I'm gonna want you.
Okay. You know your experiencing.
Ah, I see you're walking out with cookies. That was a very smart investment in your future. 2,000. Whoa, we're gonna, I'll be bought two. I got a dozen to take home.
Okay.
In your relationship with yourself, remember too.
See you next time.
You know that your experiences.
My values, I'm
Bye-bye,
optimistic.
thank you.
When I'm not taking on someone else's,
When,
particularly like family issues.
He's sorry, but
A lot of myself.
my value, I am experiencing him. He doesn't complain
you should be a
about
facilitator.
feeling bad.
When I don't even think about the
When
resolution
I don't feel
being,
bad for against the wall.
When
like leaving.
he doesn't, well,
Not
I
even
don't
just
think
like
he's
a-
not complaining, when he doesn't,
What do you mean?
find
Read.
Like,
pessimistic answer to
like
it.
when we have conflict,
And they can be
Good
through
not
shit.
You need some help?
feeling,
You want me to work with you?
Just
I don't
bad
know,
situations that's going on or something
Not
like that.
feeling
Oh.
like you leave.
not like me.
Connect to
Okay.
Not thinking like when we're having fight,
Alright.
like, well, I'll just leave it and that'll be
Okay.
fine. You know, like not like
Really?
My value
Oh, when I, okay, so
I have
now,
everything.
I really need
my
to
value
work
is
on it.
connected to
So
myself.
this is
I know I'm
relativity.
experiencing
Right.
when
We have a Jeep in our lane.
You are experiencing understanding with Omar when
Having to,
When
trying to
you-
visualize things doing testing on it.
a weird like a rainbow thing going on.
don't go in.
It's entirely up to you, but chances are, even if you gave it a different projected outcome,
With the other that,
We don't agree on any rides.
Okay, feeling
we
that I
just
get
accept
when I.
it.
My
Not
values
trying to
help
change it.
and I know I'm
but
like
but what does joy look like? I mean,
I know
I know I'm experiencing it when
Because he's not helpful at all.
Things just fall into
Okay.
place.
there you go.
So
Things
when he
fall-
fixes
See, that's what I'm looking
something,
for is a
You know you're
behavior, not a
experiencing
feeling. I led to
yourself.
you to a feeling, but in fact, what I was looking
That,
for was
okay,
behavior.
you're right.
It's kind of
that's
the same
number
thing
one.
as
You know,
understanding.
before
Yes.
accepting.
You know, I
my
do.
values
And when we just
and
accept
experience
each other
I'm
This is amazing.
without, oh wait,
You
yeah,
led me
I'm
to a
describing
feeling.
accepted by saying, well, this is really like accepted.
My values, that's
Because we're looking
I
for
understand.
behavior.
I know I'm
The
experiencing.
feeling and
Accept
behavior
the
is
other
distinguished when I
person
do the life mission.
and their
When
actions.
I
Because the
say,
feeling,
without
behavior
trying
is
to
what you end up doing in visualization.
change or convince them to be
Says-
different.
So if you're able
And out of the
to,
behavior comes the
Accepting the
feeling.
person.
that's
So
right.
sometimes,
Unconditional.
even
this
this
is-
becomes a feeling as opposed to a value.
And what
When
happens
he,
is as long as I
Number
start
three was
documenting
You
Here's
know
that,
you are experiencing
what I
and I can
understand,
start
and
visualizing
family
my goals.
matter, or, you know, that's
I love it.
Good, I'm glad.
So thank you.
You
I
are
think
so
I needed
welcome.
that. I think
You
I
are so
needed that.
welcome. Yay.
And smiling, then.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I do want to
You're
23rd.
right,
I
they
think
are
two Saturdays.
different, so we need to work on that.
I mean,
That makes sense.
to find out more about it.
Usually I only do it once a year.
I made it hard for you, but I thought.
But I may make an exception for Cheryl. She can't come the second week.
So So let's go.
What 16th and 23rd?
Oh, that's right, it's my friend's wedding.
It's the 23rd, right?
Um,
Or is it the 16th?
I think it's the 16th.
Of
February.
Oh,
You have to do it.
February.
No, March. 16th and 23rd.
Oh, what days?
Both of them are Saturdays, and I'm doing it from 9 to 4:30. You know, you can make a 5:30 commitment, and I promise you'll be on time to get there, if it's in town. If it's in Nashville, I can't make that promise. Rude.
What you doing?
We're doing our values clarification thing. Yes, yes, will you sit with
My value
Deborah, you can be
is
her partner.
accepting,
Yep.
and I know I'm experiencing it when blank.
Is everybody through with the
How you like
first
it?
round? No?
Like the first person.
Value.
Yeah, understood the first.
How much more time do you need for both of you to have your making meaning?
We're on the last one for us.
We haven't gotten that. I need one more, we need one more, but I don't know.
Being invited to hang.
Well, why don't you work with Bruce for a few minutes, Deborah, because we're gonna have to move ahead.
Number two, is productive. My value is productivity, productive, and I know I'm experienced it when,
Carol.
Yours is like at least, looks like it's grown and my fiance's is like tiny, it looks like he just learned how to
I'm
like
sure we need to
different.
go in and out.
Why don't you do that?
I don't
Where was
know.
that?
I'm trying to get my arm around.
This is my business partner, and I have all this already. I mean,
My value is trustworthy.
I'm
I
just
know
hanging in
that I'm experienced when
She picks the one,
he goes
probably the
somewhere
one
and
that
do
you
whatever.
probably
I don't
See
even
that
think
achievement,
what
got
he's
that
gonna
one.
do.
I feel like things all start falling.
Okay.
Tell me then, what did I say?
Because it's fun, and I know he's experiencing it when
It looks like,
That's okay.
there's something actually
Sure.
concrete.
Sure.
my value is sheer and I know
Very
everything
good.
when like.
So it's results.
Oh, that'd be great.
So results.
I don't understand.
So,
I understand that it's family.
productive, when we're productive, we actually have results.
Agreeing, oh, I know.
Thank you, that was the word.
Making excuses.
Yeah, that'd be great. It doesn't really matter what you
Been my plan. Yes. Okay, 4 was administrative.
My value is honest and
Same thing, results, isn't it?
Yeah, it's also a, yeah, it's a sense that you're on the right
Okay, who
path.
still needs more time on the exercise? Just a little, like a minute?
What I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna get Sarah, and let's get Sarah to at least do her number one.
Okay, good.
Sarah, come over here and help us. You're very good.
my value is security and I know experiencing it with what.
She just needs her number one though, so she can figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. I couldn't see.
So,
Goodness, guys, I'm sorry. Oh, thank you.
so with number one, just so that you experience it, so you get the handle of it. Your number one was, understanding. So
Okay,
look at
my
the
value
sentence.
is trustworthy
My
and I'm
value is
experiencing it with what
understanding.
happened.
And I know I'm experiencing.
Okay, I did not write anything down.
One way you know that
He
that
does what he
is
says
going
he's
to
gonna do.
him is going to be developed.
That it exists, that it's in the
When
relationship.
How would you describe?
when I feel
You don't, I just not, I got her into feeling again, and she's having to describe the behavior.
Well, when she shows, instead of feeling, when I show compassion to others, okay.
The one that you're taking a picture.
Right, so when you show compassion. The sentence is, my value is.
So it's probably easier.
Nice banner, Bruce.
Huh?
Nice banner.
Yeah, how the logos look, they
I
they
think
cool?
they turned out really good, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, very nice. Everyone, Bruce or Pet, designed the banner.
Hey,
Beautiful, thank you,
car out
thank you.
there, it says Y on your license plate.
Yes, it does. It says God first.
Oh, I know that, I know, of course.
Mine says one source. One source on my license plate. Of course, I'm in a rental car today, so it says severe county or something.
My wife's license plate says Yoda I am.
Oh, cute! I love it.
Wow.
All right, we ready, Cheryl? Yay! Okay, so here's the third part. If I got everybody's attention, here's the third part. What you've now done is you've gone through those 6 values on both sides of the partnership here, and you've made meaning of the value. The value is the hook, and the meaning is the cup. So they go hand in hand. You can't, you know how Winston Churchill said we're separated by a common language? Well, he was talking about Britain and the United States. But we're separated by a common language in our own partnerships if we're not making meaning of the words in the same way. So let's say I'm having a chit chat with my buddy Sherry, and I say, yeah, harmony ended up being my number 3 value, and she says, oh, harmony was important in my relationship with Richard too. And I go, yeah, I just love it when John and I have friends over, and he's cooked this fabulous meal, we're drinking nice wine, and everybody's laughing, and she looks at me like I've lost my mind and says, that's harmony to you? You know, for me, it's when I'm in the backyard in the hammock and the birds are chirping and no people are around. So see how we make meaning of the words. We could be talking about something polar opposite until we make meaning for each other. So when you're asking questions of people, what does that mean to you? Like, well, it means, and they keep on giving you feeling words, it's usually the opposite. And you go, yeah, but like, what does the behavior look like? They go, oh, blah, 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 blah. Then you've got a picture of what their expectation is. And how can you meaningfully talk about expectations if you don't know what the meaning is of the words they're speaking? Now, this isn't something you're necessarily going to do, you know, with, I don't know, your hairdresser, because that might be spread all over. No, I'm just kidding. But you know what I'm saying? This is for important relationships. And when you are, quite frankly, the reason I got introduced to John Baur is I had a little 19-year-old protege. You've heard me talk about Russ. And she was dating a loser at the age of 19. What do you say to a 19-year-old? I mean, we've all done it, right? So I didn't make her wrong. I used myself as the example. And I took her through, I told about, you know, previous relationships and why they didn't work in my estimation. Because by then I knew how to do this. And I held up a mirror to her in her relationship by talking about my relationship. I was even able, as I said to you earlier, show her the card of all the things that I wanted in a relationship. And she was like blown away. Well, if you don't know what you want, how do you know what it is when you find it? So she ditched the loser, and at the same time, she realized that I needed to meet the handsome Dr. Baur. So you just never know. I mean, mentoring works. It's all about giver's gain. Believe me, when I met John Baur on the first date, I said, getting married again is not a goal of mine. And he said, well, I'm not in a hurry to do anything. And, you know, 8 months later, we were married. So there you go.
He was a smart
man. And I was a very blessed woman to finally find my soulmate. But if I hadn't done this work and I had not become the person I became, I could not have attracted such an amazing man into my life. So just remember, you heard it here first. I'm thrilled. You obviously knew it intuitively the first time, or the second time, whatever. So what I want you to do now is you still swap with each other, and actually, no, that's not true. You're going to take your own sheet back now, and you're going to go through one by one with these values. Again, start with number 6. So Melinda is going to say to our new person who just came in, Tracy, my number 6 value in my relationship with Joe is, number 6 was what?
Proud of self.
Proud of self. And I know I'm experiencing it when smiles happen. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And so what you, Tracy, would do is literally feed back to her your number 1 or your number 6 value in your relationship with Joe is proud of self, and you know you're experiencing it when smiles happen. And she's going to go, yeah, that's right. What I don't want you to do is paraphrase or interpret what you think they are saying. I want you to literally give it back to them. There are two reasons for doing this. One is they may never have been listened to so closely in their entire life as to what you're getting ready to demonstrate. The number two reason is she may go, that is what I said, but you know, now that you say it back, I realize that's not what I meant. So it's a clarifying exercise for both people. And particularly if you're doing this with the partner, I know she's going to go home and do this with Joe. She wants to find out what Joe has to say. Okay? So thank you. You'll be able to access this and even be able to play it to him if you get stuck. But I think by the time you and I have done it, and then you've done it with Tracy, you could teach it now, right?
I don't know about that.
So that's what you're going to do, is you're going to literally go through, and I want you to rotate. So you're going to do your number 6 value and what it means, and your partner's going to feed it back. And then you're going to flip roles. She or he is going to do their number 6, what it means, and a feedback. Go all the way up. 6, 6, 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1, and then we'll be done. And then we're going to move on to the moving away from values. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Will we keep ours and read from ours?
Yes. And then she's going to be listening
Yeah.
and reading it back to her. Not reading, listening. This is a listening exercise.
When smiles.
Oh, you gotta say yours first.
See, I can hear yours.
No. Wait. I'm supposed to say it, and then you say it back to me.
All right, you're so welcome. Thank you for coming. Hope you'll come back.
And I know I'm I kind of just feel like I say what you say, and then you're like, yeah, she's totally listening.
So your values
It was really great of you, Stephanie.
My value is compromise.
Your value is,
Say it, and then
and you
they
know that
Right, you say it, and they're gonna listen and repeat it back verbatim. Yeah. And if they say it wrong, then you correct them and go, no, that isn't what I said. I said this.
I'm guessing you're like a. I'll say this. I was gonna say Tuesday. Yeah, I can just send that to you. It's just like click on it. Okay. My number 6 value in my relationship with Omar is romantic, and I know not anything that when he goes out of his way to plan, and I know that we're right something else.
You know you're experiencing your dance with Omar. He goes out of his way to plan something or buy something.
Oh, what it means is they actually.
I know I'm experiencing acceptance
And even though you're small,
when
you're starting, it's
I'm
not
being
like
invited to hang
$100 in
with
business.
him with his friends.
But it's a
Your number 6 value is acceptance.
Yes,
You're invited to hang with him.
it's not a front. She owns it, she operates it.
My number
You could have a minority partner, but if your name's
I
on
know I'm
it,
experiencing that when
you
accept what the other person does.
She was
that was really the word I wanted.
on paper.
Okay,
You're
my
unbiased.
value is optimistic, and I know
Number 5,
I'm
I know you're experiencing acceptance with Omar. Number 5, fun. I know I'm experiencing fun with Mason
I'll get around to it. I'll get around to it and announce it.
Number 5 value is fun. You never experienced my value.
your value.
Now it's and I know she understands why you're trying so hard. If you say it back and it doesn't have an extra, you take care of yourself.
My number one value is committed. I know I'm experiencing it when except for the other person says without
Or you can put away.
without I know I'm experiencing committed when I'm not taking at least 7 months. It sounds really bad. I know I'm experiencing. I don't know how to say it, but
I get what you're saying.
I'm not like gonna do it. I'm just like I'm not giving it my time.
She's not gonna contaminate me, which I appreciate. It's very important for me to be well.
And you know he is.
I was sick over Christmas and I didn't.
You know you're experiencing commitment with
It was good, I give myself a B on it.
That's okay. That's okay. When you're not thinking of leaving. For sincere, I know I'm experiencing sincereness replacing when he doesn't make an excuse.
Okay, your number 4 value with Mason is sincere, you're experiencing it when he
And the next day I just.
My value.
I
My
had my voice back, but I was still.
Okay, your number 3 is understanding and you're experiencing that when like makes up the other person says without trying to cheat.
How long John and I
Number
been
3,
married.
for you, is accepting, you know, you're experiencing it when you guys accept the other person's saying without trying to change. That's honest. I know I'm experiencing it when he straight up tells me the truth.
Your number 3 value
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
when he straight up tells you the truth.
Okay, so you want both.
Everyone's gonna know about our relationship.
Bruce is getting,
So I'm
he has an
productive.
appointment.
Business over
And I'm not
summer,
married.
I
I
get
want to
it.
stop in to show my support.
My value is.
I love you, Bruce.
Okay, my number 2
You're the best.
And I know I am
and everyone asking it when except the other person.
Like us?
Oh, I wanna be in, I wanna be in.
When he
I wanna be,
leaves
he can be the really good
There you
man,
go.
okay.
to do something during the day. And that's it, I think that I get a good experience. I get a good experience when he's truck.
Gotta get the logos right.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you put?
And I know you're experiencing it when Silas leaves the house. Except for the other person says
Sorry, just scooch this way just a little bit more. I think it's just the side of the room.
Is acceptance, and you're experiencing it when
In and out of the
you
house without
accept what the other
explanation.
person does or
So
says.
like you said.
My
Okay,
Okay, we got that. Let me go with my camera.
I'll take that.
My insecurity, I know I'm experiencing it, all my stuff.
I
is
got
that-
like,
Oh, I see it, my eyes are on. I know.
What? Huh? What?
how long you been married?
Okay.
My husband
Sorry.
said. So is that what you say it again?
My number 1 value is
And I'm
all
right, thank you.
We spend more time laughing and smiling.
It's hard when you're in sleeping bug.
Yeah,
Going
but-
to spend more time.
Okay, so that's good.
I know.
I get my responsibility and then I'm experiencing it
I
because
don't-
he does what he says.
Your number 1 value is
Have a great day.
She put her name on here, but not on
Hey, why? Bye. Bye, why?
I'm gonna send you something. I wanna see what if you got some stuff I can use for a seminar.
Who needs more time?
All right.
A little bit.
I'll email you.
1 minute, you get 1 minute.
Okay.
Y'all be good.
What did you decide?
I know, but I don't know how to
See, I know
Well,
what's
then I
happening.
gotta-
You guys
I
are
gotta
going
have it-
down
you
rabbit
gotta put the
holes
words
and
in
having
it,
side
back to you.
conversations and not taking care of business.
We did good.
going deep explanation.
Okay, I like that. All right, I can do things without going into deep explanation. Okay. And my last one is easy. He is, my value is helpful, and I know I'm experiencing when I get
This is.
cornbread.
And you know you're experiencing when Silas
Cooks me some corn.
Wow, that's a great behavior.
And he doesn't cook, so it's always
Ready
good.
then.
So my value is trustworthy, and I know I'm experiencing it when I don't think negative thoughts when he does things or goes.
Okay, then, your values trustworthy, and you know that you're expensive.
Shelley, you are all over the
You don't
internet right now.
think
I'm all over the
negative
web.
things when
The
Art
internet.
does
These
things
are
that
live
go
photos, live blogging,
Fun. Thank
live
you.
TV,
Thank
and
you.
recorded.
So how's my lipstick, Sherry?
It looks good.
You're just a
You're
rock
so
star.
bad. You probably think this picture is about you. Okay.
Can I put excitement in public recognition?
Okay.
I'm waiting for Deborah. You through?
We're done. We're
Okay,
done.
good. All right, so what we've done now is we've made meaning, and then we've shared what our meaning making with our values is. Did you have anybody correct themselves when they say, did they say, that is what I said, but that's not what I meant?
Yeah.
Oh, good. See, it's
John
clear.
tried to erase hers.
It's a listening exercise for both sides. Did anybody repeat it back to you as a paraphrase and you went, no, that's not what I said. I said this? That happened too?
Yeah,
Now
corrected
see,
me.
if it happens in here where there's no pressure, imagine what happens when there's some testy things going on or misunderstanding going on or someone's feeling defensive. So the whole idea is to have a way of communicating differently with important people so you can go, gosh, you know, it might be time to revisit how we listen to one another. And you take personal responsibility for your side of the equation, and they take personal responsibility for their side of the equation. One thing I know about the relationships I was in that failed is that I was in all of them. So I had a certain portion of responsibility, right? Because I was half the relationship. I think the reason my husband's and my relationship works is it's not 50-50. It's 100%, 100%. Let me say that again. It's not because it's 50-50. It's because he gives 100% and I give 100%. So now we're going to move on to the dark side of the force. No, there are things that we're trying to avoid. What we've been talking about is the things that we want in our lives. There are things that we're trying to avoid in this relationship too. It doesn't mean that anybody has ever been untrustworthy, but we want to make sure that never shows up. If that's in the top 6, then you make it the top 6. Remember, if the word is not here and it's something that you've had experience with in the past and you want to make sure it never happens again in this relationship, add it. This is just a suggested list. So I want you, this time you ought to be able to do it a little bit more quickly. Circle the 6 things that you most do not want to experience. These are feeling words of loss, pain, disapproval. You don't want it to show up in your relationship. Even if it never has, you want to make sure that it never does.
So let me ask you this, can you do this with a group of people? Say, if I had a group, a church group, and we're trying to find out why we're not clicking in a certain
well, what I would
group.
suggest in answer to your question, you can do it with a group, but first I would ask them to do the exercise just like we've done it with a relationship so that they've got the process. Are you asking a question
yeah,
or
it's
stretching?
more between, what is the difference between helplessness and hopelessness?
If you're helpless, you feel like you can't do something.
Mm-hmm.
If you're hopeless, it's like you don't think you're ever going to be, you're in a black hole. You have no hope. You don't think you're ever going to be able to get out of it. That's a very good question. It's a very important distinction. I mean, when someone's hopeless, that's when they start thinking about suicide.
It's more spiritual than physical.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if a child's drowning and you don't know how to swim, you can feel helpless. But if there's someone else on the bank who can swim, we don't have to feel hopeless. They can go save that child. Does that make sense? Yeah. Have them go through the exercise first so without there being any defensiveness in the group about what's going on, they do their own work. And then they begin to realize, before they move into the corporeal experience, they realize, oh my gosh, it's because we don't mean the same thing. If we can get to the meaning of what it is we want. So what you could do, and I've facilitated this before, is you could have people, you could say, what's really the most important thing to us in achieving the mission of this Sunday school class, or this nonprofit organization, and you let everybody put up the words, and then you start having them vote for each of the words.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Instead of, and then when you finally get the top votes on the 6 words, then you can create a forced hierarchy again, based on votes. It doesn't, it's a little bit harder to manage, but it certainly can be done.
I guess I was thinking more like, just like you've had us to do, the relationships between, because sometimes it's just 2 people that.
If it's just 2 people, you could deliberately pair those people.
Okay. All right, now what do you want us to do?
Okay, what I want you to circle the 6 things you most want to move away from, that you don't want to have in this relationship.
I just buy you 2.
I may have to do a private meeting, because you've been working so hard.
Oh, never mind.
All right, now, you're not gonna have to go through the whole hierarchy thing again, because I bet you can look down at that list and go, this is the one thing I do not want to have happen in this relationship. Put a star next to it.
Wait, what are we doing?
Put a star next to the one.
Put a star next to the one thing you most do not want to have in this relationship. And then pair up, and each of you will take your star moving away from value, and you'll say the most thing I don't want to experience in my relationship with blank is, name the value, and I know I'm experiencing it when blank happens. You want me to say that again?
Please.
Okay. The number one thing that I most don't want to have happen in my relationship with John is discord. Not healthy discussion, but discord. And I know I'm experiencing it when he just walks away, gets in the car, and leaves. And we just can't even have a conversation. It's never happened before, so I had to make that up. But that's an example. If there's something like, he's never been unfaithful to me. So it might be that my number one is unfaithfulness. And I know I'm experiencing it when I come back from out of town and there's a woman in the bed with my husband. I mean, that's about
As plain as it can get.
about as plain as it can be. There's no circumstantial evidence that he can refute.
It's the events that come
So
after the
cancel,
experience.
cancel, I take that back. I don't even want that energy out there.
You are gonna think this is the funniest thing in the world, but I have spent a lifetime blocking myself from visualizing or verbalizing anything that's negative.
Yeah.
And to
And
look
here
at
I am
this,
saying it.
and to look at this and have to actually verbalize what it might look like bothers me. But
Then
I can
don't
see
do
the
it.
value in it.
Well, and
I
I'll
can see the
tell you
value in
why.
it, but my
Because the
life
next
has
piece
been
of
trying
this-
to overcome
Okay.
this ability, everything.
But I
you
want
know.
you to have the word, and the reason is the last piece of this whole module together is going to depend on your having one moving away from word.
Gotcha. Good. Fun stuff.
So
This is
you want,
fantastic.
so pair with somebody. Let's see if we've got an even number. I'm going to take over for our departed friend and work with Delmar. You two, you two, you two. And you got 4 back there. So number one thing you most don't want to experience. I've just said mine with John, so I don't have to repeat it.
Let's get you.
Mine is almost half.
And who is your relationship with? Yourself? How do you know?
What about-
You could probably really.
To experience. When I'm in a relationship.
Okay.
When I feel like I'm ready
To me, in my relationship
to
with
move
South,
forward.
to move
So
away
my number
from.
one,
You ready?
moving away from value in my relationship with myself is.
So we only do one.
No,
And
yeah,
I know
yeah.
I'm experiencing it.
My number
We
one
all
is
have, but we have like the
things
top
I don't
ones.
want to
and-
have happen in my relationship.
That's
And I
literally
feel
what you
like
said.
Mhm.
And I feel like I'm out.
Wait, are we supposed to?
With Jeff.
Okay.
And I
Are
know
we supposed to
I'm
write
experiencing it.
other person like we did before?
I don't know.
And I think it's, this is
like here's
Just that one sentence, you fill that sentence
Just
in.
the one?
Number one.
That's why I said that's.
I don't know, it's hard to
She
follow
said it
when
really
you're
did.
having,
She said in your heart of hearts,
Whatever I could deal
you're
with
gonna
that,
know
but
which
if I
one is
don't
number
have
one.
hope,
Okay. But I mean, are we going through the whole thing? That's what I'm saying.
Now,
You don't stop, it's just once it's go over number one.
Okay.
But you feel, there's, you know, what is the, I guess what's your lowest point on Facebook? On your
I turn this over and it is.
All right,
It's-
there's-
you read it down.
Okay, I just put it on.
I put it on a method.
I just put a cookie in my mouth.
Ooh, hog the cookie in the mouth.
Okay.
One for
Now, my motion thing
Okay,
is,
I guess, I guess you're right, huh?
rejection.
Is that what we're supposed to do?
Number one.
Yeah, just like you did with
Okay.
the number, you don't have the one.
I mean, sure, we just did.
I know I'm experiencing it, and
Take these.
he doesn't talk to me.
Everything around.
I-
3 hours, he just looks out the window.
What?
Bad, are you?
Is that
Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you why.
I didn't have vision. I had
Your experience when he doesn't talk to you.
heard that.
That's fine. I'm trying to think that out.
Lost my ability to journal or write.
So the number one value.
That kinda came out.
That's Marty's number if you wanna write it down.
She sent it to me. She sent it to me. Yeah, she finally responded.
The blame.
I called her today.
When I feel like.
And stop trying
He's
to
blank.
work on the relationship.
Your number one
experience
you'd like to
And I think that relates me.
value that you'd like to move away from is rejection. And you know you are experiencing who blames you for something that he would like to do.
By the way, shout out to Delmar Johnson for the blog she posted.
Yeah, I read it at 2 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm a night owl. I think I submitted that like at 10 o'clock last night.
Yeah, it was, I looked to see what time.
So this is the first one.
Was this something in conjunction with Cheryl, or was this something you did on your own?
I did it sitting up on my
Sit there
iPad,
and
sitting when I did write a blog.
Is what when.
I saw it hit, and then
I know.
Clarice. Did you meet Clarice?
Well, no, I didn't get a chance to meet her.
I can't wait till you do. They've been coming every, they join as professional members, they come every month. She posted last night too, so I blasted hers out. I'll put hers out probably today. Yeah.
Yeah, the meeting I went to in Atlanta was a blueprint strategy meeting. And it was intensive, it was about 6 of us. And one of the things that I had to put on my marketing calendar was to do more blogging. Well, I had already started that for sure, but now I'm have one blog that's kind of geared towards journaling, how to get people professionally, like what you said I did with, and then other blogs that I put in there would be more from a business standpoint and HR and stuff. So because there's two sides of it.
One tip, fabulous blog. At the end of it, if you look at my blogs, I've just started doing this.
Okay.
But good, change from you telling us, change to someone else talking about you. Delmar Johnson is the founder of blah, 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 put your contact information.
Like in third person.
Yes, and link it to your, so that can go straight to your website or to your Facebook page, or who needs more time?
Okay.
Who needs more time?
Mom,
Who needs more time?
Deborah, do you need more
You see
time?
what I'm saying? The resentment
I think we need
is
more time. Okay, great.
something that you are.
So was that easier to do than moving away from? Sometimes we know what we don't, and believe me, when I was living by default, I was going, not this, not that, not this, not that. I didn't know how to say this. And that's the whole idea of the law of attraction, the secret, etc. What we dwell upon grows. And so if we're doing default and not this, not that, we're actually holding on to the energy of what we're saying we don't want, which is, to Deborah's point, why she doesn't even want to express anything negative, because it does give energy to it. But once we get clear about what we don't want and do an exercise like this, we can pop through to say, this is what I want. And that's when you start to attract what you want, as opposed to eliminating what you don't want. Does that make sense? It's a much more powerful way of being in the world. So what we're going to do next is, the reason I needed your negative value is to see if you could create a little sketch like this, Deborah, with you and was it your husband?
No, it's Carolyn, my
Oh, yeah,
business
that's right,
partner.
you told me that.
Yeah, it's
So-
just exciting, really
So
exciting.
let me give you an example. In a love relationship, the husband's #1 value in his relationship with his wife is adventure. And her number one value is security. And you see, see the smiles already. You see the setup for failure. The number one moving away from value is disapproval. And the number one moving away from value for her is abandonment. So here's what happens. The guy's best friend, he's known this man for life, calls him and says, you are not going to believe it. I've got a deal that we need to get into together. It's $5,000, but you're guaranteed to double your return on investment within 60 days. Well, he's thinking, oh boy, I'm going to get to take her to Paris, France instead of Paris, Tennessee for our anniversary. He's excited. What happens at the end of 60 days?
Doesn't happen.
Poof. The money's gone, and he's got to have the dreaded conversation with his wife. He was trying to surprise her, and now the vacation money is gone. So much for the anniversary gift, right? So he talks. She gets what? What happens? She is upset. Yeah. That's a mild way of putting it. She is upset. And so he is feeling the disapproval. It comes through loud and clear. He goes off in his cave as a man is wont to do, and she is abandoned. That is the perfect setup for failure when you do not know what drives your partner, whether it's a business partner or a romantic partner. They hadn't been through anything like this. They had never had this conversation. They didn't know this was the 98% of the stuff under the surface that was driving the relationship. They go through living on purpose. Now they get this. If they do it now, they can't pretend that they don't know what they know, right? When it's subconscious, it's like it's easier to forgive. But when you intentionally disrespect someone, this may be when she sets the limit. Honey, given our financial situation, if you want to spend $1,000 to surprise me, you don't have to tell me. That's where John and I are. We always talk about decisions we're making about his business, my business, what he's doing for the students at the university, what I'm doing for my protege. But, you know, there's a limit before we actually write a check without talking to each other, because it may be that he's found out that he needs to get help with copying some stuff for this book that he's doing and that the publisher's not paying for it. He may need the same $500 that I just spent in the slush fund, so to speak. So that's why it's important to have the hierarchy. That's why it's important to make meaning of the words, to understand what the values are and what the same word may mean to your partner that means something different to you, and vice versa. And then also to understand this kind of thing is what's driving the relationship. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. This is one of my favorite exercises, because when I do this with couples, oh my gosh, the light bulbs are just popping. I hated it that J.W. and Clarice had to leave, because it was like they were really into it. They said to me, I'm so sorry we have to leave. So I invite you and encourage you to take it home to your romantic partner and have this conversation. And if you get stuck, after we turn off the cameras and everything, I'll talk to you about one that's happening in Memphis. I do the whole Living on Purpose seminar once a year, and it's going to happen here in March, but I'm not going to tell it to everybody in the world, okay? It's by invitation only.
By the way, can I put Living on Purpose seminars by invitation only contact on going out there, or do you want me not to put that on? Okay, got it.
For more information.
Got it.
You can send them to Integrity-Based Communications, because it's got blog posts on virtually not every, but most of the modules that are in there. And of course, it's available on DVD, but I'm not here selling product. I'm here having a shared experience.
Show everybody your book, though. It's fabulous.
Integrity-Based Communications. Yes. Thank you. This is the 2004 edition, and I've just added 20 pages and about 6 or 7 different resources. Cheryl's looked at it for me. Hasn't given me any feedback yet, but she's looked at it. And as soon as I get Cheryl's feedback, I'm sending it to Amazon to have a sample done. But in the meantime, I'm using it in corporate training. We're using ebooks. I've now have my second client using it. What I do is I have them get the book in advance of the training so that they at least have some context, because this has, life and leadership skills, but it's the revised one is not available yet.
Oh.
Yeah, it's one more pass at changes. Sherry was kind enough to make some recommendations, and Shane Champagne, my all-time life coach, gave me some good feedback.
We've got some activity going on. Would you
Some
like to hear about
activity?
it?
Sure, of course.
Yes, we have Home Field on Twitter who favorited one-on-one coaching with Shelley Baur, along with a
Aw,
photo.
That's nice.
And then we had another person on the chat line on Ustream that asked us to clarify your website. So they were trying to get to your website. So we've got
Great.
action going on.
As long as you got that S on communications,
That's
we're
what
good.
was missing, and
Yeah.
we corrected it.
Good, great. And the reason I use the plural is, when I'm talking about integrity-based communications, I'm talking about alignment, words, tone of voice, body language, and we don't realize how we sabotage ourselves. Whereas if you sent me a text, and you said, is everything okay? And I say, sure. In a text, you go, great, everything's good. But if I say, sure, everything's fine. It's okay. Yeah, it changes everything. So your body language trumps your tone of voice, and your tone of voice trumps the words. If you don't have the totality of the experience, you don't have the whole picture, so to speak. And so what I teach in corporate coaching and one-on-one coaching is the things that we're doing, whether it's body language or whether it's, letting ourselves be off-center as opposed to owning our personal space, things like that. But it's a lot of fun. My job is to take them from trembling to totally confident. So, any other questions or comments? I know Sherry has some wrap-up comments that she wants to make about business over coffee.
Oh, very good.
Good. Well, thank you, Delmar. Thank
good.
you all for being here. Thank
Wonderful.
you, Shem, for coming. Skipping your
Extremely
class
enlightening.
to be here.
Very
Sometimes it
enlightening.
pays to skip an academic
Absolutely.
audio record. Okay.
Absolutely. Our testimonial is, Sarah back there can attest to it. Richard and I, my husband, who normally is here, we were in a 2-bedroom condo, which, by the way, shout out, anybody needs to buy one in Midtown, still for sale. And we have 2 small children, plus we have Sarah, who's 25, and so we have a family of 5. And Sarah at the time was living on her own and got very, very ill. So we had that to face, and then we also had the fact that our son was graduating elementary and was going into a school district that was not so much. So we had to make some quick decisions, but we kept putting it off. Have you ever done that? Mm-hmm. And just saying, we're going to have to decide what we're going to do, and then we'd go on to the next subject. So Shelley invited Richard and I to come out on a Saturday to her home for a Living on Purpose seminar. And it was absolutely life-changing, and I don't use those words lightly. It changed our lives because we were forced to look at the facts of Sarah needs a place to go. She was very ill. At that time, they didn't even know if Sarah was going to live. And she's a miracle, by the way.
Yes, she
everyone.
is.
And makes fabulous cookies, by the way.
Yes. And this was just a few months ago. So to see her where she is now, it makes us feel so blessed. But we knew that we needed to make arrangements so that Sarah could come and live with us. And obviously a 2-bedroom with 2 small children, and then someone who needs her privacy, young lady, wasn't going to work. And so by the end of the week, we had our house on the market, and we were moving to Lake Cormorant, Mississippi, where we found a home online. It was just a godsend, that has an apartment on the bottom floor for Sarah, and 6-bedroom house for only a couple more hundred than what we were paying in Midtown. So I mean that's unheard of. And so when I saw the price, I was like, you know what, that just can't be. We went out, it's on a private lake. Delmar, you've been there. It was absolutely amazing. But the only reason why we're there now, the only reason why we put legs on those thoughts that we had is because of Shelley Baur, because of the Living on Purpose that we went to. It was life-changing. Sarah can attest to it, so.
That's a blessing.
Absolutely. So I just want to open up, we have 10 minutes and some of that's going to be your networking time, but I would like to, I introduced everybody around the room, but Tracy came in late. Tracy Pruitt started with us about the same time that Delmar did, maybe a little
But as Sherry said, I've been with Business Over Coffee when they first started, shortly after Del Mar. But I have a accounting service, TLP Bookkeeping Services. And I used to do the accounting and finance service for VOC when they first started. And as Sherry said, got ill, was out for quite some time actually. But I'm rejuvenated, I'm excited, I'm ready, and I'm back. So I'm just glad to be here. But I do accounting and finance for small businesses in the Mid-South area. Previously, I had businesses in Arkansas, I had businesses in Atlanta, but now I'm just now getting back and working with local businesses here in the Mid-South, so, yeah.
All right, thank you so much. How many of you remember Tracy? I know you do.
Did we meet?
We meet.
Did I introduce you to somebody?
I don't think we did. I think you and I were just getting ready to have a meeting.
Because there's someone right now you need to meet.
Right, to talk about our
Shannon, thank you so much for being with us. Deborah, I don't know if I mentioned you earlier, but Deborah's like, you know, she's like foundational here, very important. But everybody just kind of get to know each other. Take a moment to network, pass out your cards, collaborate, connections, exposure, and what does